to stop Nikola Jokic. After that 40-point, 13-assist masterpiece by the MVP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope said this morning he expects Minnesota to double-team Jokic. And why not? Jokic was way too comfortable in Game 5. Our great statistician Matt Williams came up with this stat. Jokic had 127 touches in Game 5, 0 turnovers, Kevin.
Wow.
The last person to do that in a playoff game, Nikola Jokic, okay? I asked Jokic the other night after Game 5, how many counters do you need against a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year like Rudy Gobert? He said, hopefully one more than he does. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope said this morning that if he were on the other side, he would tell the Minnesota Timberwolves their best counter tonight is don't bleep around. Bring everything you got tonight to survive. The Nuggets expect that tonight.
Okay, Denver, by the way, how about a surprise 2.5-point underdog in this one? Ohm, thank you so much. Now, keep in mind, last year, the Nuggets Wolves season, Minnesota in elimination games, not great. 5-11 in franchise history. That's the 5th worst win percentage in those games among active franchises. And for a lot of the questions here, that crowd's going to be tight. They've got to be loud. They've got to get off to a really good start. And Anthony Edwards is going to have to step up here, as Gabe McMenamin has covered the Timberwolves here with this perspective on this elimination game. So they blow a 2-0 series lead, now down 3-2. What's Minnesota's mindset heading into the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, I spoke to Kyle Anderson this morning, Kevin, and he told me that we are all coming to the arena tonight expecting to win. We all have a winner's mindset at this point. Now,
last 3 shows.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Is it too late to talk about the Kentucky Derby? Huh? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, probably like
you
5 days late. Well, 4 or 5
yeah.
days late, that's all.
By the way, would you like to know this? That the trainer of the winning horse in the Kentucky Derby is a huge PTI fan. McKeek, huge PTI fan. Thought you'd like
Good
to know
hear.
that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Jamal Murray gets fined, 2 hockey games go to OT, and Kevin Weeks joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with 2 lopsided NBA playoff games from last night. The Celtics beat Cleveland by 25 points in the opening game of their second-round series. And Oklahoma City beat Dallas by 22 points in the opening game of their second-round series. 2 games without any drama. On which of these series do you expect to eventually become tighter?
Maybe. I certainly don't have that expectation at all for Celtics Cavaliers. That's not going to become tight. That's a 4 or 5 game series, despite Donovan Mitchell and whatever heroics he might be able to produce. Nice game with 33 points last night. That series is not going to be tight, and it shouldn't be tight. Now, a lot of folks, and I think our dear friend Tim Legler, have picked Dallas to beat Oklahoma City. I'm not one of those people. And part of it, Tony, after seeing last night's game, Luka Doncic, like a lot of people at this time of year, slowed by a leg injury. And when that happens, you know, Oklahoma City's too good. I mean, people know Luka and Kyrie Irving, and they don't know Oklahoma City. Well, get used to them. You know, get used to watching a great young team with great young players led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all right, and Jalen Williams. These guys are great. Lou Dort can guard you. Lou Dort is going to be helped by Luka being hobbled a little bit, it seems, but Lou Dort can guard you because he may be the best on-ball defensive player in the league. So Oklahoma City got a lot of stuff going. I haven't even mentioned Chet Holmgren. I don't expect Dallas to win that series. I expect Oklahoma City, which is undefeated in these playoffs so far, to win that series. But that series
championship and Luka Doncic, who's been in the playoffs. But Doncic must be very badly hurt. He had 19 points last night, Mike. 19 is the lowest he's had in 2 months. He shot from 3 the last 4 games, 5 for 35.
Yeah.
That's awful. You know, there's something wrong with him. You always give the conventional wisdom that a young team needs to be beaten and maybe even humiliated to learn what that's like, to then go out and win. But that doesn't have to happen in the second round. And so I'm not sure that either of those series is going to be tight at all. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Tony, that's a good point. And on Luka, all those little in-lane shots, that fadeaway shot, they're hitting front rim. He's not getting pushed off. He's shooting the lowest he's ever shot in a stretch of games from three-point range. And he doesn't want to make any excuses. Last night, he's like, so what? We lost. But, you know, if he's not closer to 100%, Oklahoma City's too good. You're right about them being young, but they seem to not be aware of that just yet. Jamal Murray will not be suspended for Friday night's Game 3 against the Wolves in Minnesota. Instead, the NBA decided to fine Murray $100,000 for throwing a towel and then a heating pad toward an official and onto the court during the Nuggets' Game 2 blowout loss. Tony, did the league get the punishment right?
Okay, so discipline and punishment are touchy and tricky things. They are a balancing act. What Jamal Murray did by throwing first the towel and then the heating pad, which, as you say, got on the court, somebody could have tripped on it, broken an ankle. What he did was childish and petulant, and he looked like a spoiled brat. And in the regular season, Mike, I think they'd have sat him down with a suspension. But these are the playoffs. This is where the NBA makes money, with eyeballs on the games and ratings matter. Denver's the defending champion. They're down 0-2. They're going to Minnesota. If they don't win both, they're not going to win this series. Jamal Murray has stunk in the playoffs so far. He's shooting 37.5% from the field. He was 3 for 18 in this game we're talking about, which is John Stark's land. But he's the second best player they got. If you take him off the court, you're killing that team. So in the sense of balance for what the playoffs are, I'll say it's okay just to find him and not sit him.
I might point out, Tony, that he did win 2 games in these playoffs.
That's right.
As much as he may have stunk statistically so far, he won 2 games with buzzer beaters and put himself on a short historic list. But now to the punishment. It's weak. It's weak-kneed. And here's why. Jamal Murray, whose exemplary behavior has characterized his career. This is the first run-in. Jamal Murray didn't have run-ins. It's not Draymond Green, okay? But he threw something at an official. He did. He had intent. He threw this thing at Mark Davis. There's no denying that. I don't want to get a call from the league office saying, how do you know? We all know. Don't think we're stupid. So what does he have to do? Does he have to hit the official? He threw something at an official. If you bump an official in any sport, you're suspended. So he threw something at him, and the league lets it go. I've been going back and forth on this because Richard Jefferson, like you, made a really compelling case about postseason and regular season. And I get that, Tony, and I lean that way until I think one more time, not only could he have hurt players on the court, a teammate or an opponent, he threw something at an official.
Mike, I get it. I get it. And I'll just be very brief about this. He did that. But if you want to keep him in the game, you can say, nobody got hurt. It didn't hit anybody. Nobody got hurt. And we can have him in the playoffs if you want to do that. You think it's weak. I think it's a delicate balance. Let's move to hockey. Both of last night's playoff games produced noteworthy comebacks. The New York Rangers at home came back from being down 2-1 and then 3-2 to force 1 overtime and then another. The Rangers won in double overtime to run their playoff winning streak to 6 games so far. Colorado spotted Dallas a 3-0 lead in the first period in Dallas and came back to win in 1 overtime 4-3 as well. Wilbon, which team impressed you more?
I'm going back and forth on this one, Tony. 3-0. I mean, when I looked up and it was 2-0, I had this game with no sound on in the corner, just kind of keeping it on. It's 2-0. I go, I'm going to Perry Mason reruns. I've seen enough of this. It's 2-0. They're on the road. They're not going to come back. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on there. What? This game is now tied. It's stunning. And you go to the Rangers came back twice in that game. And Shesterkin's been so good, and the number of shots that he is stopping regularly, consistently, that you just go, I mean, wow, can anybody dent him? They can come back from anything because he's not going to allow but so many goals and keep them in the game. I think I'm still going to go with coming back from a 3-0 deficit on the road.
It's good that you mentioned Perry Mason. This is the one game in which Hamilton Berger would have gotten the winning goal had you not been around on that. Look, I rooted for the Rangers as a kid. The Islanders did not exist until I got a job at Newsday as a sports writer. I know the Rangers' history. It stinks. They've won one Stanley Cup in the last 84 years. That's it. That's the Messier Cup in 1994. So when I see the Rangers doing well, and they are doing well, part of me says, well, something bad's going to happen because it happened in 83 out of 84 years. I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Colorado thing because you cannot win that game. You cannot win a playoff game on the road when you're down 3-0. It's impossible. The other team has to lose that game to a degree, and that's what Dallas did. I understand that Colorado has done this 5 times this year, come back from 3 goals or more and won. But there is something about it that seems decisive when you do it on the road in the playoffs. And I know that Dallas has lost opening games and still won the series, but this seemed almost catastrophic to me. Let's take a break.
From this too. You wonder if there will be.
Coming up, Jeremy Swayman is out there laughing and singing songs while starring for the Bruins. We're going to ask Kevin Weeks about that.
We'll also ask him about the hit that Jacob Trouba thankfully whiffed on last night. My God.
Mike, I know
you identify with Hamilton Berger.
I know Jamal Murray has won 2 games, but 3 for 18 last night. Man.
Yeah, that was
the NHL playoffs with our great friend ESPN hockey analyst Kevin Weeks. Let me start with this. The Bruins and the Panthers are back on the ice tonight. This will be Jeremy Swayman's 7th start in a row. Teammates are now describing him as smiling, laughing, and singing songs while in net. Singing songs. You were a goalie. How do you see Swayman?
Well, first of all, I love the way Swayman's playing, and I can certainly relate with that. Anytime you're in a zone, it just feels like the game slows down. And for a goalie, you have to process 98% of the game in front of you. And for Jeremy Swayman, he's making all the right moves. He's calm. He's composed. Every one of his teammates raves about him. And the fact that he's that locked in, that in between plays, he's able to sing to himself, smile, laugh. He's not getting rattled. That's a stone-cold goalie right now that's locked in, and that's exactly what he's been to this point for the Boston Bruins.
Kevin, can you remember yourself singing in net? Did you ever get to that point?
I did. I could remember that in some games, some big games, as a means to just try to keep myself calm, especially in between plays and after stoppages. Now, not loud enough for the players to hear. Maybe some of the fans that were behind the net, they might be able to hear it a little bit. But yes, at certain times I've done that. Those little affirmations, they just kind of keep you loose. And as a goalie, it's interesting. You want to be dialed in. You want to be hyper-focused. But at the same time, you can't be too uptight. You need to be able to flow and to be able to relax. If you're too uptight, you're locked up. Then you got to unlock yourself to make a save. So I love that zone that Jeremy Swayman's in right now. It's fun to watch.
Oilers Canucks start their series tonight. I hate that, one of the 2 remaining Canadian teams has to get eliminated, but that's the way this is going to go. Who are you favoring in that series?
Woo. I think it's going to go 6, maybe 7, but I got the Oilers for this reason. The Edmonton Oilers have 2 game breakers in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. McDavid's the fastest player we've ever seen play. He's already one of the best players we've ever seen play. When the great Wayne Gretzky tells me, and he did numerous times, and he has since, Weeksy, 97 in my old club is special. That's when you know he's special. So his ability to break games open, play at the pace he plays, and then the great German in Leon Draisaitl, number 29, can slow it down. He's a little bit more off speed. And when he's got the puck, he makes plays, but he can really manipulate the defender. So their ability to have 2 game breakers, 2 league MVPs on the same team, to me, that gives the Oilers the slight edge in that all-Canadian matchup.
I'm going to go away from the playoffs for 1 second, Kevin, and ask you about the Sharks winning the draft lottery last night, presumably taking Macklin Celebrini. Is he a franchise-changing player? And then presuming he's chosen first, who do my Blackhawks, who are they going to be left with to choose second?
Oh, I see how you set me up with that. I'm about to walk out. You set me up with that. Listen, Macklin Celebrini, first of all, he, I believe, has all the tools to be a franchise-changing player for sure. Second of all, he came into NCAA college hockey and shredded it up as a 17-year-old. Can you tell me the last hooper that was able to shred up NCAA college basketball at 17? And then win the Player of the Year? And then win the Player of the Year? So he won NCAA hockey's Hobie Baker for Player of the Year. So that tells you just how dominant he is. He's unafraid of the stage. His dad worked for the Warriors. He's listened to the likes of Steve Kerr, Draymond, Steph Curry, and everybody else. So he's unafraid of all of the other things that go around being a professional athlete. He's accustomed to them. He's grown up in it. So that's not going to faze him. But his skill set allows him, I believe, from what I saw at BU and my former teammate, Jay Pandolfo, who's the head coach there, I think he has a chance to be franchise-changing. For the Blackhawks, I think it's either Demidov, the young Russian forward, who's super skilled and a game breaker too, or it could be the defenseman at Michigan State, Lev Shunov, who's very, very good as well. That's who I think the Blackhawks are looking at in the 2 spot.
We're so tired of the Blackhawks. And by we, I mean me. I'm just so tired of talking about the Blackhawks and their draft picks year after year after year. Stop.
Oh, man.
All right, let's move on. We'll get you out of here on this. We want to ask you about one particular moment in last night's Rangers-Hurricanes game. I know you watched it 10 times. When you watch Jacob Trouba trying to take out Martin Necas, what do you see?
I'll tell you what I see. First of all, I haven't played for both teams, but I'll just say with the home team as a member of the New York Rangers, sometimes you can hear the train at Penn Station underneath the floor or the ice at the Garden. But we have never seen a train come off the tracks and come up to the Garden. That's what I saw yesterday. The Trouba train came off the tracks, came unhinged at Penn Station, and it launched itself in the Garden yesterday. Jacob Trouba is one of the hardest hitters in the league. Everybody knows that. And when you're matched up against him, you always have to have your head up. And narrowly, Marty Necas was able to escape that. But the Trouba tracks came off the train, or the train came up the tracks, rather. And I can tell you what, it was a near miss for Marty Necas, and thankfully he's okay. Jacob Trouba is a bad, bad man. That's a tough guy to face.
Thank you, Kevin. Although I'd like to call you Weeksy. If Gretzky calls you Weeksy, we're going to call you Weeksy.
Kevin,
you
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Justin Verlander does something he's never done as an Astro.
And Willie Adames makes good on a promise. Don't try to be tired of the Blackhawks. Don't go
I'm
there.
Tired of them.
Just because we're on our way
we
back.
Talk about him too much.
No, we don't. We don't talk about
I know
him at
that.
all.
I know the train sound. I mean, I've been in Penn Station enough with the Knicks and the Rangers. I know.
Yeah.
Happy time, people. Happy 24th birthday. Adames was in the on-deck circle still yapping. Quote, they told me they wanted me to hit a 3-run homer, Adames said later. And I was like, I got you. Adames then proceeded to drill a curveball from Royals closer James McArthur into the left field bullpen. Boom, go-ahead homer. Called shot, go-ahead homer. Quote, oh my God, it's the coolest thing I've ever done.
It's going to be a long summer, I think, between the Brewers and the Cubbies. I hate the cheeseheads in more than one sport. By the way, James McArthur, that name, wasn't he like a co-star of the original Hawaii Five-0?
Actor. Yes, he was an actor.
I'm going way back again, like Gary Mason, way back.
Helen Hayes' son, I believe. I've dated myself beyond words. Let's go to the big finish. Champions League semi today. Real Madrid beat Bayern Munich 2-1 in Madrid. Your reaction?
Wow! Madrid scored in the 88th and 91st minutes to come back and win. And I think there was a goal that was disallowed, offside, something even later. Justin Verlander gave up 7 earned over 5 to the Yanks yesterday. Cause for concern?
He had a 2.08 ERA going in. If he does it 3 times, yes. Not now. Candace Parker's been named president of Adidas Women's Basketball. Your thoughts?
This seems brilliant. Adidas, it hasn't been in the game, in the shoe game like the others, particularly Nike. And Candace Parker going to get them back in the game. Watch. Brave starter Chris Sale pitches against the Red Sox tonight. Your expectations?
He's 4-1. I expect him to be great against his former team. Last one, Rudy Gobert won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Is it deserved?
Yeah, I certainly voted for him, Tony. Wembanyama finished 2nd, Anthony Davis 3rd.
Somebody check me on Helen Hayes' kid. Whisper in my ear. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Tom Doak, shout out.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, James McCarthy. That's going way back, man. Like
I was right.
Years.
Nobody remembers Helen Hayes. Not even you, Wilbon.
Here's Sports Center. And look, Tyrese Halliburton, who had a great first half of the season and then was sort of unraveled a little bit by a hamstring injury. He, like Luka Doncic, their teams can't win without them being great. And so Halliburton, the pressure's on him to be great tonight. He's going to have like a Joel Embiid on one-leg effort. And then 6 points ain't going to get it. The Pacers aren't going to be able to win with that. I know this is unfair, asking a guy who's legitimately injured to be a star and be himself, but they're going to need that effort from him and production. A 20-point night, a 10-assist-plus night if they're going to win that game. You let Jalen Brunson go out there and dictate the terms of this game and get the Knicks up 2-0, and chances are the Knickerbockers are going to advance to play the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, the pressure on Indiana to win is to even the series, but I agree with you that Indiana is fully capable of going home and winning 2 in a row, and then it's a 3-game series. So I will tell you that there is a specific kind of pressure on the Knicks that you might not think of because you're not a Knicks fan. And that is to avoid the Reggie Miller moment because it's Indiana. Ooh. Just because it's Indiana is what I'm talking about. So I think that ratchets up a little bit. And I think that there is enormous pressure on Jalen Brunson, who is scoring 40 a game routinely in the playoffs. And not that he has to score 40 again, Mike, but we have seen over the last couple of weeks that Jalen Brunson is as important to the Knicks as any player is to his own team. He's right at the top of that food chain.
You're right.
So that's where I think all the pressure on the Knicks, on Jalen Brunson. Yeah.
No, Tony, I'm not going to disagree with you on Brunson. That's why that matchup, Brunson-Halliburton, is so important. You and I were at a lot of those Knicks-Pacers games. Those series were so great, and there was so much pressure on every game, and people have no idea. Reggie Miller's doing the game tonight. I would like to be in the Garden just to talk to Reggie about his memories. You were at the most famous of those games. Wow, if we could get one game to approximate any of those games, what a treat it would be. That's it. We're done reminiscing.